What's going on, everybody? We're doing another deck interview with Pat here and his Yannette deck called Flying Stuff. Pat, do you want to give us a quick spiel about yourself?
Hi, my name's Pat. This is my deck Flying Stuff. I got into Magic 2020, basically when
Phyresis
hit. My friends were like, hey, we don't have to go in public. We're all in the same house. Let's do this. I got in with Commander Legends. We continue to play today.
You know, it's really funny. I got into Commander during the because, it was like I just played with people up until that point with like sealed stuff because they bought stuff trying to get me into it, and then they were like interested in getting into Commander, and I always knew that Magic was kind of expensive, and like still kind of is but isn't.
Yeah.
I have a whole bunch of dinosaur moniker stuff, and somebody shoved a Galta deck into my hands and goes, "It's yours, you're playing Commander now," and I'm like, damn it. They finally got me. So it's funny, I also got like more into Commander around that time. It was a wild time for all of us, and
Yeah, no, it was crazy.
cool. Well, all right, so Yannette Cryptic Sovereign. Now, I have played against this commander before, and this is kind of a more unknown commander. It's like if you know it, you really know what like this thing does, and if you don't know it. So I'm gonna read it real fast. This is Yannette Cryptic Sovereign, 2 and Esper for a legendary creature Sphinx, Flying Vigilance Menace. When it attacks, you reveal the top card of your library. You may cast it without paying its mana cost if its value is odd. If you don't cast it, you just draw a card. Why Yannette?
So, this deck started out as a meme.
Okay.
It was never supposed to be Yannette. I had AC the Geyer straight for my first commander, and I got annoyed at people blocking my stuff. I was new to Magic. I was like, why are you blocking my stuff? What can I do to have you not block my stuff? And then my friend hit me with a flying creature, and I was like, cool, I'm going to block it. And he says, you can't. And I was like, what do you mean I can't? So, as a meme, I went on a site called Mercari, and this dude was selling a pre-built Tangy the Sky Warden deck for $30.
Okay.
And I bought it. It was only flyers. And I played with that deck. It was real fun. Flyers were cool. But my problem was I couldn't go as wide as I wanted.
Okay.
So I went to EDH Rec and was just scrolling at like 2 a.m. Commanders. Just Commanders. And I saw Yannette, a Flying Sphinx. And then the key word with odd mana can play that card. And then I started looking at all the odd mana flying creatures. I'm like, this is my go wide. Like, this is her.
So it really is just flying stuff.
It really is just, it's flying stuff and deck manipulation. It is, how can I make flying stuff bigger, get as many as I can out, smash face. It is an aggro Esper deck.
Oh, that's fucking awesome. So you landed on Yannette, you saw it, you fell in love, and you were like, yep, this is the thing?
Yeah, I just thought it was unique because although it is aggro, the amount of deck manipulation in this card list gives me interactions. I'm not like the normal red and green player is play creature, do smash.
Right.
I am manipulating the entire top of my library to find what I need to smash purposefully.
Well, cool. Well, let's dive into it a little bit. It's becoming like almost a gag at this point that like Planeswalkers, like a lot of people say Planeswalkers are just bad. So I'm always interested, especially on like Moxfield where like it bubbles the Planeswalker straight to the top of the list. And it's like if it makes the cut, I want to know why this one makes the cut. And you talked a little bit about deck manipulation. And of course, we see her, the cute little menace herself, Amanatu the Fate Shifter. I take it it's for like the deck manipulation.
Yeah, she is the win con. She has netted me more wins with all of my pieces on the board than I can count.
Really? Okay. Is it mainly just that +1 ability, or are you chaotic enough to -6 her at times?
So the -6 is if I'm in a bad position and I don't see anything going my way.
You're like, yeah, I'm in a bad position, but they're in a great position. Let me just take that real fast.
No, it's exactly that. There's only so many counters and destruction you can put in a deck, and this is an aggro deck.
Right.
And I couldn't shove everything I wanted into it. So the more I can have, the better. And Amanatu does everything I need her to do. The +1, the -1, the -6 has a purpose for any situation.
So let me ask you this. Has Amanatu ever crossed your mind as something to put in the command zone?
So I have had the thought, because deck manipulation has sort of taken over more and more as I update the deck list every so often. But I do love how Yannette is almost like, I believe it's like a companion, where you need to have a certain thing to use her. And that odd mana cost, I think, is very unique and very cool.
Also, normally I talk about this a little later, but with Yannette, I feel like it's more prudent to talk about it ahead of time. I almost laughed out loud when I saw your curve, because it's like, oh yeah, you have like 9 cards at the 1 slot. You have like 10 cards in the 2 slot. Then the 3 slot, you got 16. And then 4 is usually a lot higher than this. You got 3 cards in the 4 slot. And then it spikes to 15 in the 5 slot. And then 8 in the 7 slot. And then 4 in the 9 slot. Like, you really did go, oh yeah, odd, it's in. Even, it has to be good.
Yeah, I don't need mana for any of those cards. If Yannette is out and I can make her unblockable, so like Aqueous Form is in there for a reason, Whisper Silk Cloak is in there for a reason. If she can make contact, I play those cards, mana or not.
Right. So she's got an attack trigger rather than like a hit trigger. Do you ever kind of Hail Mary and like, you know, she might not make it, but like getting the chance to swing is worth it?
Yes, because the way the deck is set up, I know what's on top. I know the next 4 cards that are coming up. And
you're just seeing into the future.
Yeah, that's really what I am fate shifting. That's why Amanatu is in there. I am basically controlling what I'm doing next and manipulating everything to be like, okay, well, this turn I should be able to play this one. If all else fails, I can switch these 2 cards on my deck with this card and pull that one. Like, it's always planning ahead. I've definitely Hail Married a couple of wins with in Garrick's Wake.
Oh, that's cold. Like, oh man.
Knowing it's on top and Yannette might die. If Yannette is my only sacrifice for that card, I will gladly take it and smash fate.
So sometimes you'll just know that Garrick's Wake's up there and you're like, sorry, Yannette, I gotta get rid of other things, and you just go for it?
Yeah, because it's a go wide deck. So there could come a point where I have like 5 flying creatures out, all buffed by each other. And if Yannette is my only sacrifice to get 5 flyers through and possibly deal way more damage than I could have with her out, I will take that chance.
You're like, I'd take that deal.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. So you've talked about the flyers a little bit. We got a little bit into like deck manipulation. So I mean, the deck's called flying stuff. So what are your favorite flying stuff?
What was held dear to my heart was Kangi the Sky Warden, because he was the rightful commander to this deck that like someone built, and I felt like he was always going to stay in there out of respect for them building that deck. He was always going to be in it. He'll always be in it. He's an odd mana cost. He buffs attackers and buffs defenders. So every single situation I find myself in, he is putting a positive spin on it.
He's got your back.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's neat. He's almost like a secret commander of sorts.
And then Magister Sphinx is definitely a top tier flyer in this deck.
Yeah, yep.
And the crazy part is there's cards in here that's like, oh, Magister Sphinx just came out. Well, let me put him back and then bring him out again.
Just flicker him, bounce him, something else like that.
Yeah, like a lot of blue players are counter and bounce back, but you cannot afford to have him in my hand.
Oh, that is gross. That is so good though. Yeah, if he's in your hand, then like Amanatu can put him on the top, and then
I hold somebody's life total hostage.
Oh man. And then well yeah, and then like if there's a problem at the table, you're like, okay, cool. I set that problem to 10. And then everyone's like, okay, cool. And it's like you didn't really deal with their board state, but you got them down to 10, and then all of a sudden somebody finishes them off. And then like there's that moment when the dust clears and like the threat is gone, but then you remember that there's 2 other people at the table, and everyone like looks around and goes, oh, that Sphinx that took somebody to 10, it's still alive. And we're in a white, and he's got white and he's got blue, the best flicker colors in the whole game.
Yup. And the crazy part is, I have brought Magister Sphinx out and brought my life total to 10, and it has saved me.
Were you below 10 and you set yourself to 10?
Yeah, I was at 1. I set myself to 10, and then I in Garrick's wake.
Oh, that's fucking hilarious. You're like, I'm gonna gain life because my life total is below 10.
Yeah, it was a 2.5 hour game. Me and my friends, we couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that was the Hail Mary in Garrick's wake. I had Magister Sphinx out, just a little cushion, because I know my friend was playing Mono Red Burn.
Okay.
So he couldn't kill me with a lightning bolt.
You're like, I can't have that happen today.
No.
So I've scrolled through the deck list. Like, I've made a few passes over the list, and I can't help but notice that Yannette is not the only Sphinx in the deck. Is that something that kind of popped up in deck building, or was that a goal? Is this like a true typal deck, or what's the story there?
So I am actually a history major.
Okay.
And I am very fascinated in world history. And the Sphinx from Egypt is always an anomaly that I've loved to read about.
Mm-hmm.
I think the design of a Sphinx is very cool, very sophisticated, very mythical.
Yeah.
And there isn't a lot, like, there is no Sphinx tribal. Okay. Sphinxes do so many different things that, like, to have them all in is, you really don't have a clear goal. But if you look at the Sphinxes I've put in, they all feed into deck manipulation.
Okay. It looks like you have 10 Sphinxes in the deck, including the commander. Deals combat damage, exiles cards from the top of their library until you get an instant or sorcery. So you get some free stuff from somebody else. Defiler of Dreams is a great Sphinx. And honestly, it was kind of like a sleeper hit, in my opinion, for like blue decks.
Oh, yeah.
Cascade is nice because you're putting stuff on the top of your library. Aether Swarm Sphinx is always kind of funny because like the affinity is nice because you just get something. It's Cascade again. Oh, that's kind of weird. That's the regenerate text, isn't it? Oh no, it gets indestructible. Tap it. What are some other like standout creatures in here?
Definitely the Serum Sovereign, okay. The Phyrexian Sphinx, because you put an oil counter on her. And then I can remove oil counters, draw a card, then scry 2. It is the ultimate top-decking manipulation.
Yeah.
To have her and Aminatou on the field together is stupid for Yannette.
I also saw Crystal Ball, which kind of does something a little similar, where you're paying 1, tapping it to scry 2. Is that like multi-scry? Is that like real big for you?
Yes. I'm trying to see as many cards as I possibly can.
Did you go more for like the scry effects, or do you feel like this deck needed like the top deck tutor type effects?
I'm very happy with having the scries going on for me, just because if you looked at Strionic Resonator, I can pay 2, copy Yannette's triggered ability. Now that I just scryed 2 and I know that both of those cards are odd, I get them both. Okay.
So it makes it into like the even cards that are worth it?
Yeah, it's a 2-drop. Like, the mana base is pretty healthy. A 2-drop's not going to kill me. Just like I was going to say, I think one of the only even numbered creatures in it is Skycat Sovereign. That's a 2-drop.
Yep, you're like, hey, it does everything we need here.
Yup.
I did see Varigoth in here. What's the story with him being here? The Blood Sky Sire?
Yeah, it's deck manipulation. I can boast, search my library for a card, put it right on top.
Oh, that's right. If it just cares if he attacks. So you could do it on top of Yannette's trigger, couldn't you?
Yeah, I can throw whatever I want on top.
Okay.
So I've done that with the Artisan of Kozilek.
Oh my god.
Where it'll be like really early in the game because Varigoth's a 3-drop.
Right.
and then I throw down a 9-drop Eldrazi that no one can deal with because no one has drawn cards at all this game.
Yeah.
I throw things down, smash face, and try to put all of the things that I need at that moment on the top of my deck.
So what kind of tables are you bringing this to? Like what would you say like its power level is? It doesn't have to be necessarily like a number or anything like that, but like what do you think is an appropriate like table to bring this to?
So I found that I like this deck between a 7 or an 8.
Okay.
It's a really good, casual, fun commander, and it's not like if I'm not smashing face, then I'm not having fun.
Right.
Me interacting with the deck is the fun part because I'm not just sitting there getting beat down. I'm manipulating my deck and putting up a fight. I can adapt to any situation that I get put into.
I tell a lot of people that are like getting into Magic and especially Commander that like having good card selection, like people should care more about card selection than like they do on average. It always makes me smile when I see like cards like Yannette because it is all about the card selection. So it's like some people will run into situations where even if they're drawing lots of cards, sometimes like shit happens and you drew 5 lands in a row, and even though it looks like you're in a really commanding position, you just don't get a chance to do anything because you've just fucked yourself by like not being able to cycle through some of the randomness of having like a singleton format 100 card deck. Not only do you not have that as a worry, but you almost kind of play into it as an advantage more so than just getting rid of the randomness of having a 100 card deck.
Yeah, I know what is coming up. When those 5 lands are coming and I'm like, oh god, I'm screwed. I scry 2 and put both on the bottom of my library if I don't want them. And now I just manipulated my next 5 draws into my next 3. My worst fear, and a lot of Magic players have this fear, is you get a nice opening hand with a healthy land base and solid drops, but some of those drops are like your most expensive drops in your deck, and now you don't have anything to play. And
Yup.
And Yannette solves that problem. Yeah. Because you were talking about the spike, but they're odd mana cards. So as long as I have 5 mana, I'm dropping 9 costs, 7 costs, 5 costs off the rip, and I don't even worry about it.
Yeah, that's great to see. So, okay. Normally I'll go into like ramp, card draw, that kind of stuff, and I feel like this deck is more about card selection than it is card draw, and so drawing the right cards at the right time and then cheating things out with Yannette seems to kind of like cover for like the need to kind of refill your hand to a certain degree. But I want to talk about like ramp, and like especially for this deck, you have a 5 mana commander. How is it playing a 5 mana commander?
It is a gamble. In these colors, in Esper, it is a gamble. If I don't have 3 lands, I am taking mulligans. And I'm discarding cards because you need the lands. The lands have to be there first, and it really is the luck of the draw.
At least until you can get that like selection going.
Oh yeah, like a turn 1 Soul Ring means that I've almost already won.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah, because now I'm only down to 3 mana. Let's say I have 2 lands and a turn 1 Soul Ring, and I pop a dual land. Well, that just solved all my problems. Yannette is out, and I'm about to cheat out a 9-cost Eldrazi.
I honestly thought this was a typo, but I'm looking at the bottom of like the screen for this, and like TCG Player has this deck for like $51. I was half expecting it to be like, oh yeah, it's like all tuned up and stuff like that. It's not like everything has to be an expensive card, but like, I'm like, damn, this is even budget.
Oh yeah, no, I built this deck when I was broke. Like, I spent almost all my money on the $30 pre-built one, and then I went to EDH Rec and I said, I have $20. What can I do with it?
That's honestly impressive. Like, for it to be like this kind of like streamlined is cool to see, even though it's on a budget. I thought one card I'd scrolled over was like 50 some bucks, which, you know, they're out there. And like, to be honest, I don't think anyone can name more than like 3 Sphinxes off the top of their head.
Yeah, really.
Honestly, that's super impressive that you got it to like work out that way. We got through like your ramp and your card draw. Personally, I think all of your enchantments are kind of funny, so I was just gonna roll down those ones. You talked about Aqueous Form first. And can't be blocked, and scry sounds like everything that Yannette could possibly want in a nutshell.
Yup.
Moving on to another one of the enchantments, just because I also think it's kind of funny. And also, I'm kind of like zeroing in on even mana cards because I'm like, we're playing the odds game here. Why is this here? So you got favorable wins.
I
Is there something
do.
special with this one?
That is just a flavor card. Because I control flying, get a +1/+1.
Cool. We don't have to talk about all of them, but we were talking a little bit before we started recording about gravitational shift, and I really adore this card because I think it's so funny. But I want to hear it from you. Why does this card exist in this deck?
All right. So, all of the cards in this deck are shaped around my play table, and my friend has a Jetmir deck. This is to deal with tokens. I don't want any of your tokens. I do not care. I don't care if you have 31 ones. They now deal no damage, and I deal +2. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to deal with it. I'm not going to board wipe because they don't do anything. I want you to have a useless board.
Oh, man. Oh, that's great.
Oh, yeah. My friend has spent turns making like 51 ones. And then with one gravitational shift, now he just spent all of that time and mana for nothing.
Yep. It's a gate that like they have to get rid of in order to get to the other side. And it's not like a true stacks piece, because some decks are going to look at that and be like, I really don't care. Because like sometimes they have flyers, or sometimes their creatures are just that big that's like, yeah, that kind of sucks, but I can still get through. Quick, efficient token makers, or if they're really spicy, they're making 2/2s.
Yeah.
Not anymore. This is very targeted. You have to put it in a very specific deck, and it reads right on the card. You have flyers, they don't have flyers. And if like they have flyers, then you break even. I've actually never seen this card before. Do you want to talk about Soothsaying?
I love Soothsaying in this deck. I got Soothsaying at my local card store for 10 cents, and it is a 3, a blue, and a blue, shuffle your library. And in deck manipulation, that is so good because it gives me a whole new lease on life. And then to pay X and look at the top X cards of my library, if I had a really good mana game, then this is a game ender.
Yeah, because you don't really care about like using that mana for spells, because Yannette's just going to cheat it. So you're basically spending the mana on your spells, just picking which one of those spells comes out.
Yeah, I can spend, like, let's say it's a late game. I sink 10 mana into this. I now know what my next 10 draws are. And then I start counting, oh, well, on my next turn, I'll draw for turn, then I can get this with Yannette. And then I'll draw for turn and get this with Yannette. It's every other card. Yeah. But with Amanatu and Scrying, I can manipulate that to be like, this is the one I want to draw, this is the one I want with Yannette.
I feel like you'd be really good at Dan Dan. Do you know that format?
Isn't that the fish?
Yeah, Forgetful Fish. It's like
I
you
am
share a library
familiar,
with somebody,
but
you're
I
trying
don't
to
know.
The whole concept is like you're playing with the same deck as your opponent. So, and a lot of the cards are built around putting something back on the top of the library, or ordering the library, or shuffling the library. So you play this head game of like, oh, what are they gonna draw? What am I gonna draw? Do I have any card draw in my hands? All right, how does that go? If I set the top 3 of my library, who's gonna get what? And I feel like Soothsaying is like a commander version of like what that strategy wants to do. So, all right, let's get into this deck. Obviously, like reads real strong just because it's very. It feels like it flows really good. Even for me not playing it, like just looking at the cards and listening to you describe the play patterns, it looks like it flows really good. What are some things that like interrupt your flow? What are some things that like you see it and you're like, damn it?
So a big weakness that Yannette has, as well as a lot of other commander players, it's called, well, I call it being chained to your commander. If your deck can't function without your commander, and your commander keeps getting got, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Yannette can be like that. I'm sort of chained to Yannette. Yes, I can get those cards out without her, but it'll take me a lot more time than with her.
Yeah. It's a very fine focal point where your deck's going great if she's out, but if she's not out, you're having some serious problems.
Yo, yeah. Yeah, because then, like, let's say I'm drawing into lands with Yannette. At least I have the lands.
Right.
Now, I lose that card draw. I lose the ability to gamble if it's an odd mana cost or not. I lose a lot of the synergies that I sort of put in here. But to back that up is I have Amanatu, I have Kenki, I have pseudo commanders where if I do not have Yannette, I'm not sweating, but it sucks.
Yeah. No, I definitely... I've noticed that in a lot of like commander players now, where like the deck just funnels a whole lot of chaos through their commander and then hopes that their commander can stick. Like decks fall to pieces because they don't have it. I guess since you said most of this is the original listing, how are your thoughts and feelings and recent experiences with Vault of the Archangel?
Oh, so actually, in a go wide deck in a late game, this is a win con. It's just a win con because when it turns into a slugfest, and like let's say I have 6 flyers out, maybe the Skycat Sovereign. Skycat Sovereign gets a +1/+1 for each other creature I control with flying, with gravitational shift and all them, and I sink 4 mana into this card. I mean, I'm gaining minimum 12-15 life in a late game. That's damning for a lot of people.
You said you were built like you had this deck when like you were in like a less financial situation. Would you ever consider buffing this list, or like is there anything that you've wanted to add for a while?
There's always something you can prove in a Magic deck. Always. With Bloombarrow, Maha, it's Feathers Knight.
Oh god.
the 5 cost flying trample creatures your opponents control have. It's a 5 cost. I would 100% throw it in for $15. It's almost as bad as Gravitational Shift on a creature.
I love how you talk about this like an aggro deck. It's not the colors of an aggro deck, but like it really is an aggro deck.
Like, I'm looking at 5 costs and I'm thinking to myself, that's not a problem.
Yeah. To look at a card and be like, I don't care what mana value it is as long as it's odd. That's just so funny to me.
It saves a lot of money.
Right. Well, because like expensive cards never become, or like expensive mana cards usually don't become like too expensive. Like unless they warp the game on their own without any support. Like usually like high value cards just kind of sit and just kind of do whatever. My Henzi list was almost budget for a long time just because it was like full of 9-drops and stuff that I was planning to like cheat down to nothing. So it's always funny because it's like, oh yeah, there's a 9-mana spell and it doesn't immediately end the game. All right, 20 cents. But for you, it's like, oh yeah, this is my finisher.
This is casual fun, but like I've said before, I've played against Edgar Markov. I've played against Kranko. I've played against Chatterfang. I've played against Atraxa. Like, I put fights up. I might not win, but I'm not dying first.
Nice. Well, sweet. Well, I really appreciate this. This has been a wild ride. I typically, like, beforehand, I'll, like, look at the lists ahead of time. And I know we kind of got into... I forgot to tell you to send me the list on this one. This is surprisingly, like, one of the cooler lists I think I've looked at this week. Just because, like... You have such a unique way of playing with like how the tempo of Magic goes for like that card evaluation and card like selection. And like I have never seen a curve this chaotic before where you're just like, yep, 4, 6, and 8, practically nothing. But somehow you're like rocking with like 4 9-drops and just like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
And this has been a great pleasure. If anybody was planning to build Yannette, do you have any like parting advice that like you haven't said already, or if you just want to hammer home one last thing, what would be your advice for someone aspiring to do a Yannette Cryptic Sovereign deck?
Have fun. It's all about fun. I found a lot of cards I liked, a lot of cards that worked well together, were fun to play. Make a deck that you enjoy playing even when you're losing. Because I am always in a game with Find your favorite cards. If you like flying, put flying in. If you want to go with Eldrazi or big stompy creatures, they don't have to be flying. Any odd cost will do. Yannette doesn't just have to be flying. Have fun. Put whatever you want in it. It's first and foremost almost an aggro chaos deck that I refined to make into manipulation, but it doesn't have to be like that.
It doesn't say that you have to build the deck in one very specific way. It just has a deck building restriction. So that's so nice. I think we should focus on printing more cards like that, where it doesn't spell out what you should do, but it kind of says, hey, if you build it in this way, I'll reward you.
I'm telling you, there's so many odd costed cards. There's so many that you don't have to just limit yourself to flying. I did because I bought it like that and I liked it like that. But you might not, and that's okay.